This is Marcus Whitney's audio universe.
Like, you gotta do the work. You gotta show up and just do the work.
What's up? What's up? What's up? Happy Tuesday. I have somebody who I super looked up to as a social media marketing icon, sort of in the early days of all this social stuff. I've been able to talk to so many of these guys over the last guys and gals over the last month. I had Mitch Joel on. I was able to do the Chris Brogan show. I got to get him on. And this gentleman definitely is in that very same category of people who was very, very influential for me in the beginning. And then later on, I found out through the magic of Facebook that he and I are both supporters of Tottenham Hotspur, which just... Quite frankly, I love Mitch and Chris, but this just nudged him over the line. He's a little bit more special to me than they are. I have to say it. It's just the truth. So with that, the guy with the most ridiculous background to ever come on this show, welcome, my friend, Joseph Jaffe. What's up, Joseph?
Wait, I'm just trying to, I'm still figuring out how to mirror the backgrounds. But yeah, I mean, it's just, it said, what did it say? It's the Marcus Whitney universe. I'm living in the Marcus Whitney universe quite literally, and I'm loving it, let me tell you.
Oh my gosh, dude. I should have known you were going to come on with something wacky like that. So now all of the all the people watching are seeing three of me. They're seeing Marcus Whitney live everywhere. So thank you very much, Joseph, for that incredible background.
It's all about you, Marcus. It's always been all about you.
That's not the point of this show. This point of this show is to be all about you, my friend. So man, look, with that, let's just jump in, and honestly, I don't know this. I would love to hear how you entered this space as an expert in marketing and social. I remember following you and watching the different companies that you were part of, that you co-founded, books that you've written, but I don't know your origin story. So I'd love to hear how you and this world actually came in collision.
Yes, so my origin story begins in South Africa, and I'll try and tell the first part really quickly, but it's hard to but I'll try and be as succinct as possible. So I was going to leave at the end of my senior year in high school. I was going to go and tour and study and maybe even live in Israel. I felt like that was a cool thing to do. But I fell off a wall. Trying to break into my friend's house so that he could be the designated driver in the car with me, because I was going to go pick my mother up from the airport. Now, I was driving illegally without a license, and I could have made it easily to the airport, but I knew that my mom would have been royally pissed with me. So I try and get my buddy to come in the car with me, but he's been out to a club partying till about 6 in the morning. I arrive at 7 in the morning. He doesn't wake up. There are no cell phones. No one's at his house. And I try and drop myself down from a construction site from one wall to another wall to another wall. But I hit the wall and I fall backwards, and I fall 15 to 20 feet, hit my elbow on the ground, shatter my elbow in 3 places, break my shoulder in 2 places, and dislocate it. And long story short, I spend my birthday, my high school results, New Year, high on pethidine, basically, in the hospital with pins and wires in my arm. And my mother walks in one day and throws the prospectus at me and says, "You're going to, what are you going to study? Because you're not going to Israel, you're going to university." And for the first 3 months at college, I walk around with my arm in this massive brace. I'm left-handed. It was my left hand. I had a nervous shake in my arm for about 6 months, extensive physiotherapy. Long story short, I register for a pharmacy. I figure I'm going to open up a chemist or a pharmacist. But I then get chicken pox, and at the age of 18 years old, and suddenly everything starts to fall apart. I fall behind in math, and I just realized the sciences are not for me. So I went from BSc Pharmacy to BSc Computer Science to Business Science Computer Science to Business Science Finance to Business Science Marketing, all under a year. And the minute that I started with marketing, It just clicked.
Wow.
I was a marketer. I was meant to market. I was meant to be in marketing. I fell in love with this profession, with this craft. And I tell you, I last 2 years at college, I was on the Dean's Merit List. I was literally, acing every single subject. I was in my element. I was losing weight. I found a girlfriend who ended up being my wife. Suddenly I was able to do everything well instead of before where I was doing nothing terribly. And
Wow.
and
Wow.
I ended up actually, and I won't even talk about the serendipity of how it happened, but I ended up working for maybe one of the most funkiest, coolest, incredible brands that is a brand today called Nando's Chicken Land. Many people have heard me talk
Cheeky
about Nando's. Yeah, I was the third marketing employee in the company's history.
Oh my
And
gosh.
I started with them when there were 26 stores. I left when there were 600. I still bleed. There is still peri peri in my veins. I love this
Peri
company
sauce
so
is
much.
So good. Oh my gosh. Okay, so
Good.
so wow. That's amazing.
So this gave me the grounding, and I think look, I've been a marketer. I've been on the agency side. When I came to the US 27 years ago, I worked on the agency side. So I've worked on the brand side, on the agency side, and every time I've fallen, as opposed to I've either fallen off a wall or I've fallen in love with a profession. I'm such a believer that you have to love what you do and be passionate about it. And so every aspect of my life, eventually discovering digital marketing and then social media and then the power of innovation and then startups. And so each one of these aspects, it's not what's hot right now. It's an addition. It's like I'm building like arrows in my quiver. I'm arming myself with a broader, wider, and deeper knowledge of great marketing. But the common thread will always be creativity, risk-taking, innovation, change. That's always the red thread through everything that I do.
Joseph, when I first came into awareness of you and your work, it was really around internet digital marketing, but this sense that it could be more than advertising, that it could be about authentic voices. And this was, the first rising of blogs and the first rising of podcasts. So we're talking, 2005, 6, 7, that first wave. I know that you've been on the front end and front lines of all of this from the early days. Did you get the opportunity to play in the digital space and find a love for it when you were at Nando's, or where did that opportunity come up for you? And then how did you transfer from that opportunity into the position of leadership that you've been in?
So so I'll tell two things. One is back in the South African days, South Africa was still, as a country, transitioning and emerging from the apartheid regime into a free and democratic republic. Technology-wise, we were always behind, 5 to 10 years behind the rest of the world. And so, I remember going to, I've had a love for gaming and computers and technology since I was 9 or 10 years old with a ZX Spectrum, at the time of, I think it was the Commodore 64 and the BBC and my Apple compatible, because Apple wasn't in the country. But I remember going to sleep at night, trying to download the new Netscape Navigator. And it was probably like 20 megs then.
Right.
But in order to download it, I would have to start it at 11 p.m. at night and then come back, I remember, at night, 3 a.m., 5 a.m., 7 a.m., and it would get to like 19 megs, and then the connection would fail and I would have to start again. So I've been, it's a weird thing when I think about this, Marcus, which is I remember, tracing paper or carbon copying, I remember all the old technology, all of the old technology. I still remember going, to my mom's coin dealer. I would go and I would pick up the electric typewriter, which was so heavy I could barely carry it. And what made this typewriter so exceptional was the fact that you could actually delete a letter at a time. There was a special thing where you could delete a letter at a time. So when I go back and think about that, and then I see this new technology, I could always see it for what it was meant to be, not for what it was. And I will tell you, I remember speaking at a Microsoft conference. A guy by the name of Rex Briggs was on stage. I never forgot this. And he stood up and he went like this. And everybody was looking at him. He said, no, he said, don't look at the finger. Look at where the finger's pointing. And so for me, what became my sweet spot, and it still is to this day, I'm not a futurist. I never will be one. I can tell you where the puck is heading, a la Wayne Gretzky, not where the puck is. I have no interest in where all the lemmings are right now, where everybody's piling on. When it's the flavor of the month right now, I lose interest and I move on, not to the next big thing, but understanding where it's all moving towards. And that's maybe you talk about a leadership position, that's where I try and lead and inspire, which is to give you a different perspective, a different take, an original take. And always, you will never ever see a tactic in search of a strategy with me. It's strategy first.
So when coronavirus hit, I quickly moved everything from my office in East Nashville to this not really spare bedroom. It's my oldest son's bedroom, but he's a Marine and he's deployed, so I'm using this room. And I went about the process of starting to build it into a mini broadcast studio. And, you know, I'm part of a couple of different Facebook groups that you are a part of as well. And then I noticed that you had already launched something called Corona TV. And, you know, one of the things that I think is so great about your style of leadership is, and something that I always try to do, is that you are a practitioner. So there's nothing that you're telling anybody to do that you're not willing to roll up your sleeves, get dirty, and try yourself, and try in a way that is very vulnerable. You know, it exposes, it's like while you're leading, you're also exposing that you don't have all the answers. You're not the expert in how it all works, and you're figuring it out in public. Can you talk about like what sort of drove you, what circumstances in terms of changes to your own business, to the time, to the way you were spending time, drove you when the pandemic really hit to take on Corona TV, and sort of what it is for you? I mean, if you're watching this, people know what this is for me, but, you know, talk about what Corona TV is for you. Yeah,
and the story, which I don't know if there'll be time to talk about today, is one of the stories that I actually write about in Built to Suck is how I became an Uber driver. And the point that I make by doing it is there are many marketing gurus out there. I'll bet you not one of them has ever become an Uber driver and can talk about what Uber's building from the inside out, from the other side. And there's, of course, it's you know, any good, hard, honest day's job is a respectable job and something to be looked up to. And for me, you know, the ability to go and understand and see it from the other side was illuminating. And it's the message that I always tell to marketers, which is you can't read about this in a book, even mine, you know, a little bit cheeky, snarky or cheeky there. You've got to live it. Yeah. So my story is a very simple one. You know, I was visiting my mom in South Africa. You know, thank God she's doing okay, but it's 4 years into a bout with cancer that we call it the red dragon, trying to keep the red dragon at bay. And I've been trying to visit her 3-4 times a year. And 20 minutes before I meant to give a presentation in South Africa, because I try and, you know, do a little bit of work there as well. My wife calls me and she says, I have the coronavirus. I'm pretty sure I've got COVID. 20 minutes before I meant to present. Oh my gosh. I flew back the next day, and I was meant to fly back the next day, but I would have anyway, obviously. The day that I arrived, I must have passed her on the I-95 from JFK to Connecticut because she was getting tested. I got home and I immediately self-quarantined, different bedroom, different floor, you know, away from her. For almost a month, I was on a different floor in the house. And and I'm obviously faced with on a, at that point, it's like March 15th, every hour, every day, another conference is cancelled. I was going through the South by Southwest, thing at the moment. And I kept on telling everyone on my WhatsApp group, guys, this is definitely going to be cancelled.
Yeah.
But I couldn't cancel it, and because the hotel. So anyway, so everything's been cancelled. All my speaking engagements have been cancelled. Consulting clients are cancelling. And I don't even know what I can't. If you ask me what the spark was, I would say honestly I don't remember. But I just decided to do a Facebook Live, and the Facebook Live led to an experiment with Zoom, and Zoom led to using a piece of software called StreamYard. And the next thing I knew, Corona TV was just there. And then I remember the day. There's such an interesting lesson here, but I was talking to my sister, and she has a spinning studio in London. And she was saying, like, we've got to close our doors, and I don't know what to do. And so she went and put all her bikes. She has one studio, it's hers. She put all the bikes on like a U-Haul, emailed her customer base, said, who wants a spinning bike? And started streaming herself. So I said to her, why don't you come on my show? You can be my guest.
Okay.
Guess what? She was the first guest.
Wow.
Now my whole show, 83 episodes later. And so you can see sometimes, if there is a motto for all of this, it's the Nike motto, just do it.
Yes.
Don't even think sometimes. Don't overthink it. Just do it. Do what comes natural. Do what comes normal. I started Corona TV with a view to helping people that were stuck at home or stuck, from a mental health or depression standpoint. I wanted to help my fellow authors that were also stuck. And I was like, let me just help, right? Everyone was saying helping is the new selling. So people have said, well, what are your views and how are you monetizing? I'm like, I have no idea and I don't care.
Right.
But I do know that if I do this long enough, and if I'm true to myself, and if I'm passionate about what I do, and if I try and help people, surely good things will follow. And maybe they won't, but hopefully they will.
Right.
And so and then like what you and Laura and myself and Chris, I coined this term streamies. We are fellow streamies, and we help each other and we support one another. Why wouldn't we? So this thing, by the way, this became part of the interesting style, that instead of my green screen being about me, I wanted to make it about and there's nothing wrong with doing it the other way, but I just wanted to make it about my guest.
Yeah.
Also because every day I have to be creative.
Yes.
I have to be original. It can't become a formula or template. You have to have a template.
Yes.
But if I could always customize and change it and go, what's the green screen going to be like today? Today I'm interviewing Colin Shaw, who's a customer experience, like one of the smartest CX people in the world. Well, we met at a conference at Stamford Bridge. You can imagine as a Spurs fan. So that's my background today. It's the Chelsea Stadium.
Well,
so it's fun.
So how many episodes have you done now?
I don't have, like, I've been doing it pretty much every day since March 15th. But I have about 82 or 83 interviews now.
That's unbelievable. I think you are my 42nd or 43rd episode of Marcus Whitney Live, and it's crazy when you do it. I do it every weekday, and just about every weekday. Like occasionally I've got like a speaking thing or a board meeting or whatever, but just about every day I do it. And it's crazy how you rack up the shows when you do it every day, and just how you get better at it, how I am at this point now where I want to spend a weekend and really kind of overhaul and upgrade my entire setup, because I've kind of got it dialed in. But as you mentioned, your hack around changing the background every single show gives you that creative juice that I'm currently missing right now. I don't get me wrong, like I love the shows, but I do feel like I'm kind of phoning it in for my guests, and so you called out something that I had been feeling in a way that I know I need to focus on.
And they're little things as well you can do. Like one of the things that I've done is I come up with a quote. Well, I find a quote.
Yeah.
And I probably did it with you as well.
You did.
And I can't remember yours, but like in some cases, the whole point is because I'm a sadistic, SOB, I'm going to make sure that it is so esoteric that there's no way that you're going to figure it out. But of course, what I've done sometimes is I've actually used their own quote. So they're like, I did it with Laura Gassner Otting, and she was like, "Wait, that's my quote." And I'm like, "Damn you!" So that's the thing, Like I have one, and sometimes it can be like Lady Gaga, and it can be like it's just so esoteric.
Yeah.
But it's another way of keeping it fresh.
Yeah, I think mine was like a Ben Franklin quote or something like that. Man, let's talk about your book. Fantastic title, Built to Suck. Love it. Really, really great title. Let's talk about it though. What's this book about?
So the book was written, came out actually at South by Southwest 2019, and on the cover of the book is this corporate apocalypse. This, you see the remnants of companies that have fallen by the wayside: Kodak, BlackBerry, Toys R Us, and then quite interestingly, Sears and JCPenney on the cover. Both have since gone out of business. And then just to be even more provocative, GM, GE, McDonald's, P&G, etc. Of course, but I mix it up. It's like G and P and EG and, just playing a little bit of parody. But the premise in the book is that, and I'll take a small step back. I walked into my daughter's classroom like 4 or 5 years ago, and I saw this magnificent chart showing, it was actually like a history chart, but showing 5,000 years of history, of civilizations and empires: Romans, Ming, Ottomans, Egyptians, Nazi Germany, just all of these empires. Every single one of them rose and fell. Every one of them thought they could live forever.
Right.
Every one of them, through hubris, arrogance, whatever, inability to change, died. And I said, well, if the corporation were a civilization or an empire, then surely it too will not be able to outlive and fool the sands of time. And the message is that the business model of big business is broken. The day and age where size was a growth enabler, economies of scale, efficiencies of scale, global networks, being a multinational, it's now a growth inhibitor because large corporations have become too slow, too siloed, too political, too bureaucratic, too conservative. They're essentially slowing down when the world is speeding up, and they are being disintermediated and disintegrated by startups, by founders, by technology, just by change in of itself. If you look at what's happened with COVID right now, the companies that were on life support, that were struggling, that were really, coping very poorly with the Amazons, with all of these new forces, they're the ones that won't make it through.
Yeah.
The only companies that will make it through are the ones that had enough of a buffer or some kind of wiggle room because, and I write about a lot of this, they were looking to put themselves out of business. They were looking to transform. They were changing the business they're in. One of the examples I use is IBM. IBM went from being big blue to big data, right? They went from mainframes to AI. If Big Blue could go from a company of the most, their mainframes were multiple floors of a building to now dealing in bits and bytes, then anything is possible.
Right.
And so I'm quite explicit about this. I take no joy in seeing a company fail. Right. I am a messenger, though, saying, hark, the end is nigh. Don't shoot the messenger. But the reality is right now that there is no, I even talk about another company in the book that has gone out of business, which or filed for bankruptcy protection, which is Hertz. And I said, for the life of me, I do not understand why a single car rental company is even in business today because of Uber and Lyft. Like, I do not understand what the business model is.
Yeah.
And so right now, these companies, they've got to rethink everything if they want to survive and thrive. And part of the message in this book is today, we're all in the survival business, from the biggest of the big to the smallest of the small.
Yeah.
And that's a good thing, because when you have your survival instinct in play, right? Survival instinct is based on two things: self-preservation and adaptation. Self-preservation means don't kill me. I just want to live to fight another day. Adaptation says I'm going to kill you. If it's between you and me, I'm going to take you out in order to kind of be the last brand or last man or whatever standing. And so this book is, I'm very proud of it, because it doesn't, it doesn't mince any words, and it calls it and it says no company can and will survive. And I even take it so far as to say, right at the end of that chart, Marcus, is, the United Kingdom, the EU, USA, Russia at one point. Well, guess what? The USSR is not the USSR anymore. China, I mean, who knows what's going to happen when the whole world decides to attack China? Nazi Germany, gone. The EU and Brexit, very different. And then right at the bottom, USA. And I actually say, even the mighty United States of America may have to face its own heresy, which just might be racism. And I wrote that a year ago. And I didn't expand on it. I didn't want to be too controversial, but I go back and I look at this, and you look at brand USA, like brand Coca-Cola.
Yeah.
It's the same thing. If you cannot adapt, if you cannot evolve, if you cannot embrace your heresy, then you will join that scrap heap of all the empires and civilizations that came before you.
Wow, that's heavy. Yeah.
I thought it was a light read.
Yeah, I don't think so.
It's funny. I make lots of jokes.
Well, you're a funny person. We're to the end of the show, and I mean, I feel like I don't really want to leave that topic, but I never like to leave these very short shows on a pessimistic view. So let's now look to the innovators and to the companies that can embrace their shortcomings and can self-disrupt. What would you say are the inspirations that we're seeing sort of around us right now, and the opportunities?
Well, I will say that the book is not pessimistic, and the note is not pessimistic, because what I introduce is a solution. And there are 4 growth pillars, which is digital disruption.
Yep.
Like what's happening right now is not digital disruption. It's digital catch up.
Yeah,
It's just companies trying to catch up.
Yes,
The next one is customer obsession, which is something Jeff Bezos wrote in his very first letter to shareholders.
Yep.
The third is talent resurrection. Like I actually say ban the word employee. If we can't figure out how to attract and retain and uplift our talent, we are dead. And then the fourth is corporate citizenship. If you want to be good, if you want to do good, you have to be good, right? And it's just like a different spin on, or different take, I should say, on purpose and corporate social responsibility. So even if you look at a company like Patagonia that has changed its mission statement to say to save this planet, of course, anyone can survive and thrive if they are able to continue, as I said, to adapt and evolve and be dynamic. And so the inspiration around me right now, I mean, I'm like you. I believe in the power of the entrepreneur, of the startup. Walt Disney said, if you can dream it, you can do it. And I believe that technology can solve any business problem. Quite frankly, even what's going on with COVID, technology and humanity, when combined, when unified, when united, we can solve anything, whether it's technology and contact tracing, or humanity in terms of I said this the other day to a doctor. I said, why are all the top doctors, physicians, Nobel Prize laureates not having a Zoom call, a status call every Monday morning? Or if it is, why are they not streaming that or giving us minutes of that? Because I do believe in redemption. I do believe in humanity. I believe that creativity and as I said, disruption and innovation and just the entrepreneurial spirit and grit and determination and embracing, failure and failing, like all of this stuff combines to power what I call in the book the entrepreneurial revolution. It is the next industrial revolution, and it is so powerful right now. And so as long as we keep feeding our entrepreneurial potential and spirit and passion, there is always going to be hope for humanity and for the world.
Amazing note to end on. And but we gotta get you back on here soon, because there's a part 2 to this conversation. I want to dig more into your 4 pillars. I love them, and I kind of we could do a whole show just on the 4 pillars and looking at who does them well.
Anytime, and it works both ways, right?
Yeah.
Anytime you want to come back.
Amazing.
It's always open.
Thank you so much, Joseph. Everybody out there, please follow Joseph. You can get him online at Jaffe Juice and at Jaffe Juice TV. JaffeJuice.tv or josephjaffe.com are the web properties. Go follow this brilliant, hilarious man. The book, Create and Orchestrate, it's in stores right now. Hopefully you've already picked up your copy. If not, why not? It's only $6.99 at Amazon right now, Kindle edition. The podcast, Marcus Whitney's Audio Universe, wherever you get your podcasts, you can grab it. Please subscribe, downloads. I need them. Thank you. And you can follow me at Marcus Whitney everywhere online. And of course, marcuswhitney.com is the website. That is it. I will see you all tomorrow for another episode. And until then, hope you were inspired by today, and let's build the new normal. Peace.
Thank you for tuning in to Marcus Whitney's Audio Universe.